Hey everyone, and welcome back. So in my previous update video I showed you my mechanical sifter, and I thought I'd just go through some of the bits and pieces on it in case you want to build one for yourself. It's pretty straightforward for the most part. There's a couple things to bear in mind and a couple things that I learned while I was building it, so maybe you can learn from my mistakes. The first thing I wanted to do was to make sure that it was somewhat portable. I don't want to have this standing outside the whole time, so what I did is I made the legs on a hinge, and you can see there it's a locking hinge, both sides. You can see there's the mechanism. So pretty straightforward and nice and easy to actually put up. And this thing here, I wanted this also to be able to separate. You can go and build it all in one piece, and if you have enough space, a big garage or a big shed, then you can keep it all together. But I wanted something somewhat portable. I can stick this in my shed, and this here can just sit outside. So let's put it together, and I'll show you some other things. A couple things to point out before I actually connect this all up. There's a couple options with doing this. First one is you have one that shakes back and forth, which sort of mimics what you do when you're sifting manually with the compost sifter. I decided to go with this, which is basically just a sander. It vibrates. Don't have to go and do anything special. Don't have to go and adapt a motor or go and put in any special gearing or anything like that. It's already in there. It vibrates probably a little too quickly, which is why there's this connected onto it. So this here is just a rheostat, and what it does is it slows this down. This is going way too quickly. A sander is vibrating way too fast, and what's going to end up happening is this is not going to vibrate at all, and it's not going to help you sift your compost at all. So by using a rheostat, you can control the speed of this, and there you go. One thing to bear in mind, if you are using a rheostat, make sure that you have a brushed motor in here. Typically these here, if you see little sparks in here when this thing's on, then you're pretty much assured that this is a brushed motor. But the reason for that is if you have an induction motor, which some of the newer sanders have, they are not going to respond very well to this, and you're going to have some big problems. So rheostat, controlling the speed. Get one of these old ones here, this Bosch PSS 23, any of the PSS range actually, the older types. They're nice and cheap on eBay. I got this for £10 and it just works great. So let's hook it up and I'll show you some other little things. I'm just going to hook those on there. These are just somewhat heavy duty springs. It helps this all to be suspended. The way that this mechanism works, there's a spring over here and a spring over here. The springs are just to keep it suspended so that it doesn't transmit the vibrations of this through to the frame, because then you're going to lose the vibrating power of this. So by suspending it, you make sure that all the vibrations happen on the actual device that you want vibrating. So if you have a look here, what I've done is pretty simple. Just put a wire. You can use string or whatever. I probably went a bit heavy duty with this. You don't need to. And then I've just put some screws up the top there, so I can change the level at the back, which means I can change the angle that this is going to sit at. So this is at the shallowest angle. So if I change this, if I unhook this and bring that back, and we drop the other side as well. There we go. Now we've got quite a steep angle. When I first did this, and you'll actually see it in the last video, this here was actually connected down there. I have raised it a bit so I can get this angle higher. The reason I'm not lowering it more down there is because I want a bit of height at the bottom so that I can catch all the stuff that comes off the end. So that's it. It's in place and it's ready to go. You can see it's nice and suspended. When this is on here, this whole thing vibrates nicely. It helps the compost slide down here. What you'll also notice is I've just put some bags stapled up on this here, just to be able to funnel the compost that comes out of this area. It will come out and I can put that into a bucket. Let me actually get that in place. So if I put that bucket over there, now all the compost is going to come down into here and into the bucket, nicely funneled. Not going to be a big old mess. And we do the same thing at the bottom. Let's get another bucket in place. Now, what's going to happen here is you have basically 3 buckets. You need 3 buckets for this. One modification I will be making is at the end here, I'm going to put some wood, or maybe at the end over here, put some wood to funnel. So I don't need such a wide bin. The reason I have such a wide bin is because it catches all the things at the end here. So that's probably an adaptation I'll make, is just putting a bit of a funnel so it funnels it in, and I can use another one of these buckets. Also, I can extend it out a little bit more so that I don't have to do what I'm doing here, which is just getting it to sit at an angle. Everything piles up into the corner here. I want it to pile up in the middle, but it does the job. So let's plug it all in. And there you go. Now let me show you what happens when you put it at full speed. That's at full speed now. And can't really see it on the video, but this thing vibrates so quickly that it's actually not moving this like I want it to. So you really need to slow it down. Get a Rheostat, they're not expensive. So let's run some compost through it and see how it works. So now we just need to empty out this bucket, and there you go. You got some lovely compost that's ready for the garden and ready for your pots. So I'm finished up for the day, and got quite a lot of compost. That's quite a heavy bag there, and then I've got another 2 smaller bags. Plenty enough for my containers for the greenhouse, so when I'm ready to pot up to the larger size pots, then I'll have plenty of good compost. So I've been using the sifter for about an hour today. In between my other chores, I had to mow the lawn and get that other compost pile started over there. But during that hour I've learned a couple things. Number one, don't use these to attach your sander to the rig. They're just not going to hold. They broke a couple times now, so I had to go out to the DIY store and make another plan. So what I've done here is I've just got some metal strips, bottom and top, and strapped that down. That holds in perfectly fine. So something else to point out, I have changed to a different sander. Just had a bit more control with this one. But something I would recommend is, if you are going to make this and you are going to use it, I wouldn't use it for an hour continuously. This thing gets so hot. It's doing a heck of a lot more work than what it is built for. So it's still fine, still working, no problem, but it does get very, very hot, and that can't be good for the motor itself. So at some point I might think of a different way to do this, have less pressure on the actual sander, but at the moment this is working perfectly well, and I'm pretty happy with the results. I've got plenty of good compost just down there. That's all the primary compost, the good stuff, the finer grade stuff that comes out from the first grid over here. The second grid, which is double the size, all of that has been used to fill up these raised beds. So they're ready to go. I just need to dig them in over there. You can see I've put a few more loads, but I need to dig that in and think about what I'm going to grow there. So I hope that was useful, and if you do have any suggestions about how I can make it a bit better, if you see any things that I'm doing there that you think there's a better solution for, please tell me down in the comments. Always willing to give something else a try and try and optimize what I'm doing. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you learned something. I hope that gives you some ideas to make your own compost sifter. Anyway, we'll speak to you again soon. Bye bye.